ISKCON school can be reversed very quickly in the home. So it's very important that we have a integral program of education for parents and children at the same time, and we emphasize that in the temple, that the parents should be educated at the same time as their children are being educated. And therefore, a family that prays together stays together, so it builds strong families, and the children take to Krishna consciousness seriously because their parents also are serious devotees. And it becomes a fun process because they have something to talk about every time they meet, because they're learning new things together. And we'll be able to demonstrate that Saturday and Sunday morning. We have class, morning Bhagavatam class for the children and the parents together. Now, the education is all about preparing the next generation. You cannot really have a vibrant community unless it becomes generational. And if we fail to educate our children properly, we fail as a movement. Therefore, the prime concentration, not only of the parents, but of the temple, should be to educate our children in an integral way. And we'll demonstrate a new way of educating our kids that does not depend on the curriculum in public schools or in private schools. It's our own curriculum where we begin with Krishna and we see Krishna throughout the whole process and we end up with Krishna. Whereas in modern education, they avoid, based on secular humanism, they avoid Krishna completely or God completely. They just, it's factory out. Therefore, any child that goes through that educational system in the United States or even in India, in Europe, they end up becoming naturally atheistic because they're exposed 6 to 8 hours a day to a barrage of basic nonsense. So we also demonstrated a new vocabulary, a new curriculum for teaching what we call a unified educational process. So we're very happy you're here. This sharing of information about how to educate the next generation is going to be the, let's say, lifeblood of ISKCON. Prabhupada wanted, and I'll just show you a few interesting quotes by Srila Prabhupada, and then I'll start. We have a position paper about Srila Prabhupada's desire for education. You're probably aware of it, but it's always good to see Prabhupada's quotes. This is a paper that was prepared recently where we actually, it's shocking the way Prabhupada wanted education in ISKCON. What's interesting in America, most of the major universities, Harvard, Yale, and many others, began as spiritual institutions. They were started by churches, but they metamorphosed over time into bastions of atheism and all kinds of deviant behavior, taught in a very scholastic way. The pedagogic system is very sophisticated, but the end result is you end up with demons and really uneducated kids. So the definition of education is a learning process by which one acquires spiritual and material knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and lifestyle habits. These should facilitate the gradual development of self-realization. Now, we talked quickly about the different steps of self-realization. We won't go over that. Go down. Go down. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. We'll talk about this later, but I just wanted to get to some essential quotes of Prabhupada. Keep going very quickly. Keep going down. Yeah, the real goal of education, Prabhupada has elaborately explained the difference between real and false education. He has referred on numerous occasions to a poem by Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur that follows. It's a famous poem. Go down. The main verse that we depend on is Vidyam cha yasta vedavayam sa. One should cultivate material and spiritual knowledge simultaneously, so that material knowledge does not become an obstacle in developing spiritual knowledge. Okay, so keep going down. This is prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur 1:7. So he says in number, go up a little bit, go up, the other way, the other way. This entire, you probably know this poem, but this is all about the devastating effect of mundane knowledge that Bhaktivinoda Thakur chronicles in this poem. Go the other. Go the other. Up, right. Sorry. He basically says that modern education makes asses out of people. He says all the so-called knowledge of the world, number 3, is born of the flickering potency of your illusory energy, Maya. It is an impediment to the execution of devotional service to you. Indulgence in mundane knowledge verily makes an ass of the eternal soul by encouraging his infatuation with the temporary world. There is one person who has been turned into such an ass, who for so long has carried on his back the useless burden of material existence. Now in my old age, for want of the power to enjoy, I find that nothing at all pleases me. Life has now become agony, for my so-called erudite knowledge has proven itself to be worthless ignorance. Material knowledge has now become a pointed shaft that has pierced my heart with the intolerable burning pain of ignorance. So now go down real quick and then I'll finish. Srila Prabhupada has elaborated on this, and he was asked a question about the. Go down.
Yes, Paul.
Okay, keep going. Okay. He's talking about, Prabhupada's talking about mundane education. He said, people will forget God. With the advancement of so-called material science or material knowledge, the result will be that people will forget God. And then next is Anitya Samsara Maha Janamya. This material world, which is temporary, where we cannot stay, we are already captivated. But this advancement of material knowledge will make me more captive, and I shall work just like an ass. That's all. Now, whether he is right or wrong, tell me. He's saying, whether you agree with Bhaktivinoda Thakur or no, you tell me. His charge is that advancement of material education is advancement of the influence of material energy. And if you say that what is wrong there, the wrong is that we are already rascals, and this education will make me more rascal. Anitya Samsara Maha Janamya. I am already captivated in this. Go down. Go down. I'm already captivated in this material world. Now, this is the version of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, if you don't like, tell what is the reason. Tell me. Material education, we are already captive under the laws of material nature, and the more we advance in material education, we'll be more and more rigidly captive. So this is the version of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. What is your answer? Can anyone refute Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he is wrong? So you see how Prabhupada was very, very emphatic about not subjecting our children to material education. Yet, later on, now go down further, later on he does say that one can use material education in Krishna consciousness. Then, but you have to know how to do it. And he quotes a verse from the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada condemned public schools as slaughterhouses. He says, I've seen intelligent boys, they go to school and he is spoiled. Simply slaughterhouse. This so-called school is called slaughterhouse. Yes, slaughterhouse. So the modern educational system without any knowledge of Bhagavan. Go ahead. Go down, keep going. this modern education system without any knowledge of Bhagwan, I may tell you frankly, not only in India, everywhere, they are practically slaughterhouse. Srila Prabhupada discouraged materialistic education. You were saying, this was a question, Prabhupada was asked a question by Jyoti Mai, the head of the school in New Mayapur, France. You were saying that the children should learn these three, geography and these things, and I wanted to know if they should also learn what they call biology. That is how the body is working. What are the bones and blood and Prabhupada? Simply wasted time. Simply wasted time. But this biology and this logi, they are useless. There is no necessity. You follow that? Brahmachari Gurukula. That I've already explained. That should be done. Don't bring any new thing, imported ideas. That will not be helpful. It will be encumbrance. Biologists, chemists, physicists, and mathematicians, there are hundreds and thousands. We're not going to waste our time that Gurukula should produce a great grammarian, a great geologist, biologist. Don't want that. There are many other educational institutions. So, to end, Prabhupada quotes a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, go down, in which it says that you can use everything in Krishna's service, including material knowledge, when it's dedicated to serve the Lord. So therefore, you can use, accounting, and you can use geologists, you can use physicists, mathematicians. Everyone can be used in Krishna's service, but you just have to know how to do it properly. So, but training our kids simply in material knowledge without the connection to Krishna is condemned by Srila Prabhupada. So that's just a little introduction, and we hope that everyone will be very, let's say, comfortable here. If there's any issue that needs to be addressed, just talk to me or Namavrata Prabhu, our co-president, and Damodar Prasad is one of our co-presidents is here. They're here to serve you. This whole community here is to serve you while you're staying here. Thank you very, very much, and I hope Prabhupada blesses us all to find this solve this enigmatic question of how to educate our kids so they end up Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Actually, in the schedule, the welcome address was supposed to be given by Damodar Prasad Prabhu, so Haridas Prabhu kindly combined his inaugural address and the welcome note. Thank you so much for hosting us, Prabhu. I think it's our pleasure to be here, and it's very exciting to see the happening community. So, thank you so much once again. May I request Indira Saki Mataji to read from Srila Prabhupada's quotes from books and lectures. She has already done some research, and she has some wonderful quotes from Srila Prabhupada for us. Mataji.
I can sit there. There's a microphone there.
The PowerPoint. Can you connect this Logitech?
Everybody had clear through. So, we put it at the last here.
Okay. Then it should come up. Now it's not.
Hare Krishna. So, some of the quotes of Srila Prabhupada, particularly on the topic of education. Prabhupada's first purpose of the 7 purposes of ISKCON is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. Krishna consciousness as a movement is an educational movement. Letter to Visitors book in Delhi, 18 September 1960. In my opinion, temples are centers for educating the public in spiritual values and I have a mission to organize all temples for that spiritual education. Lecture on Bhagavad Gita 2.9, February 1973. This is Krishna Consciousness movement. It is a very scientific movement, authoritative movement. So our request is that you don't take this movement as something sentimental, religious faith. No, it is very scientific, educational movement. La Trobe University Lecture, Melbourne, 1974. There is no institution, no school, no college, no university where this education is given that, what am I? Am I this body or am I something else? No, I am something else. So this education can be given through this Krishna consciousness movement. On the basis of Sri Bhagavad Gita, everything is explained very vividly. Srila Prabhupada outlined the process of obtaining knowledge. Morning walk, October in 1975, Johannesburg. That is real education. We want that you learn from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you learn from Vyasadeva, you learn from Narada. But why are you learning from Freud, from Darwin and such rascals? Education means that you should learn from a person who is authorized, who is without mistake, without illusion, who does not cheat. Just like we are learning from Krishna, that is education. And if you learn from rascals and fools, then what is that education? Education means to learn from the learned person. Srila Prabhupada encouraged Krishna conscious schooling. Letter to Paramanand, November 1971. I wanted from the beginning that schoolhouse for teaching our children Krishna consciousness. This project of opening a school for young children may be expanded to include inviting children of respectable families for some tuition fee to come there for an ideal education, including the basic requirements of reading and writing, but giving them also real spiritual knowledge of how to live perfectly. What other school of learning can offer such a wonderful educational opportunity? There has also been a suggestion of a kind of summer camp for children from crowded cities. Letter to Satswarup, November 1971. I am very encouraged that the school building may be purchased in the near future. I am very anxious to open schools for educating children of respectable leaders in our Krishna consciousness way of life, especially also in India. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.56-57 purport. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the Gurukula plays an extremely important part in our activities because right from childhood, the boys at Gurukula are instructed about Krishna consciousness. Thus, they become steady within the core of their hearts, and there is very little possibility that they will be conquered by the modes of material nature when they are older. In a morning walk, 1974, Vrindavan. Gurukul is only for the small children, preliminary, primary, and when the children are grown up, they should be sent to the Varnashram school or college for further developed training. Letter to Tushta Krishna, January 1976. In our Vedic universities, we will not encourage anyone to be merely a bookworm. There must be life, rising early in the morning, attending Mangalarti, taking prasadam, etc. The man who is studying will be Brahmana. The farmer will be Vaishya. In this way, there will be divisions, but they are all one in service to Krishna. Prabhupada wanted Krishna consciousness at the universities. Letter to Vamana Dev, February 1970. I am so happy to see that you have introduced our Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness classes in two universities, St. Louis University and Washington University. This is the real course of study for human beings, and we should use such good opportunities to give the young collegiate boys and girls this education of spiritual science. So please conduct these courses diligently to influence the hearts of the students and encourage them to participate in your temple's activities as well as weekly classes at the universities. Letter to Sri Galim, November 1971. I am pleased also to learn that you are teaching university course in Krishna consciousness. Try to make this program very stimulating for all the students at the university by challenging anyone and everyone to try to defeat our Krishna philosophy with their philosophy. If such discussions can be held, they will be very lively and the student body may take note and enroll in increased numbers. Prabhupada emphasized Shastric study. Letter to Swarup Damodar, January 1976. I have also suggested for the GBC's consideration that we introduce a system of examinations for the devotees to take. Sometimes there is criticism that our men are not sufficiently learned, especially the brahmanas. Of course, second initiation does not depend upon passing an examination. How he has molded his life, chanting, attending arti, etc. These are essential. Still, brahmana means pandit. Therefore, I am suggesting examinations. Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma. These titles can correspond to entrance, BA, MA, PhD. So just consider how to organize this institute. At Mayapur, we shall finalize everything. And Srila Prabhupada's definition of real education. Letter to Durgesh, December 1974. Therefore, I am very happy to see you living in the temple, following all of our principles of pure life and becoming an expert scholar in Vedic knowledge through studying my books diligently. This is real education. The so-called education that they are teaching in the schools and universities today is simply useless knowledge, which is all based on atheistic and speculative theories. Lecture on Bhagavad Gita 327, January 1976. This human life is meant for understanding Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. This is real education. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. I think Mataji had been doing good research and structured the whole course into multiple categories because all this all comes under the purview of Ministry of Education, Shastric study, universities, schools, adult education. So I think you have picked up quotes for all the different verticals. And may I request Sesha Prabhu to make his keynote address. Sesha Prabhu is our Minister of Education for ISKCON and very senior amongst us. Thank you so much, Sesha Prabhu. May I use this? I'll take it. Can you use this?
Hare Krishna.
Close.
Tilt it and zoom.
Thank you all for coming. It's nice to be with you again this year in a new place. We were in Houston for so many years. Now we're up here in the great Northwest. So thank you. I guess we'll get the introductions a little later. But someone might say, now I'm not saying, but someone might say that based on what we heard so far, that it's kind of like we're preaching to the choir, you know, we all buy in on all those things, and someone might think that there's just a few people that can understand that there needs to be a revolution in terms of what kind of educational systems and students we have coming out. Someone might say that, but I don't say that because what I want to do is I want to show you a little video clip here. It's about 3 or 4 minutes that has received over 3 million hits on the internet. And It's done by a devotee, and it pinpoints the problem that we're trying to address by education in ISKCON. So now, Brother Budi,
Yes, give me a minute.
put it down. It's, maybe you've even seen it. Probably you have. What's the devotee's name? Ganga
Jai Shetty.
Jai Seti, and I think he's initiated by Ramaswamy, Radhanath Swami. His name is Ganesham. Yeah. Have you seen this before? Okay, but I think it's powerful the way they make a very nice presentation of it. And, as I said, 3 million hits indicates that people are in tune. I don't know if there was 1 week or not, but I just take the 3 million numbers. So I think we're almost there. Hopefully the sound is good.
Can you just play? Start from the beginning.
When he said we have wider freeways but narrower. Albert Einstein famously remarked in a conversation with Werner Heisenberg, he said, in the West we've built a beautiful ship and in it has all the comforts, but actually the one thing that it doesn't have is a compass, and that's why it doesn't know where it's going. This paradox of our times was propounded by the Dalai Lama when he said we have wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We have taller buildings but shorter tempers. Will Smith said that we spend money we haven't earned on things we don't need to impress people we don't like. And it's phenomenal how the same technology that brings us close to those who are far away takes us far away from the people that are actually close. 30 billion WhatsApp messages are sent per day, but 48% of people say that they feel lonelier in general. The paradox of our times is that we have more degrees but less sense, more knowledge but less judgment, more experts but less solutions. It was Martin Luther King who said that the irony of our times is that we have guided missiles but misguided men. Have you ever found it perplexing that we've been all the way to the moon and back, but we struggle to start a conversation across the road or across the train? And it's amazing that Bill Gates was known as the top earner in 2015 with a wealth of 79.2 billion, but 1 in 4 CEOs claim to be struggling from depression. And do we actually thrive off this paradox? Is it that this paradox actually makes the media interesting? It's what makes journalism interesting. It's what makes politics interesting. It's what makes television interesting. Is this paradox actually what we feed off and what we live off and what we talk about and discuss in our circles? Doesn't it seem that we've tried to clean the air but polluted our soul? We've split the atom but not our prejudice, and we're aiming for higher incomes but we have lower morals. So I'm hearing you ask, how do we bring a change? How do we dissect this paradox that exists in our lives? And it starts by us, each of us, pressing pause, pressing reset, and then pressing play again, taking a moment to become more conscious, taking a moment to become more aware, taking a moment to really reflect on the consequence, the implications of a misplaced word, of an unnecessary argument that we all know we didn't need to have, or to speak to someone just slightly differently, in a different tone, in a different voice, in a different empathy, with a different perspective, just to really connect with people on a different level. This thinking out loud started from Albert Einstein, and I'll track back to him when he actually said that the problems we have today can't be solved with the same thinking we used when we once created them. So actually we need to research alternative teachings. We need to deep down dig into those ancient books of wisdom. We need to go back to understanding if there's anything written in those creased pages of time that can actually reveal more knowledge and more wisdom of how we can transform our experience of life today. Otherwise, this paradox means that every step forward we take, we're taking 3 backwards every time.
How many have seen this before? Okay. he's talking, especially like the last half a minute or so, he's talking directly to us. Because he's recognized that there's a problem in society at large, and that problem is that their education, their advancement of modern civilization is out of line with a true human being. The worldview is skewed. And what our task is, whether it be at the Gurukul level, whether it be at the Shastric study level, or academic study in universities around the world, our goal is, our charge is to create unity between the worldview and real human life. Now, that is something that calls on the revolutionary spirit of us. We have our nice, quaint classrooms and school buildings. We have a posh educational seminars, and we have gentle family settings. But we need, underneath all those things, a revolutionary spirit in our educators and our school administrators to make this difference, to change the worldview. Now, just to give you an example of what I mean by worldview, I'm going to go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, and maybe some of you know this, but it was a surprise to me when I read it again. That the very first thing described about Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we know how central Prahlad Maharaj is to the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. The very first thing described is his parents' choice of school he was going to go to. Did you know that? That's the very first thing. That's how Prahlad Maharaj was introduced in the Bhagavatam. That his father sent him to the school of Sandanamarka because they were the sons of Sukracharya. And even though Sukracharya shouldn't have been a guru because he was just in it for the family lineage, his sons were there, and so Hiranyakasipu thought, well, let me enroll them in this school. But Prahlad Maharaj didn't like it. He didn't like it because, and I'll just read you the verse from Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj was already educated in devotional life. But when his father sent him to those two sons of Sukracharya to be educated, he accepted them. They accepted him at their school along with the other sons. Prahlad Maharaj heard and recited topics of politics and economics taught by the teachers, but he understood that political philosophy involves considering someone a friend and someone an enemy, and thus he did not like it. That is the essence of education in society today, isn't it? Someone is our friend, someone is our enemy, and everything we do is based on that kind of a calculation. That's a worldview. And you see it played out on the American political stage very strongly at the current time. But you can analyze any country, anywhere in the world, you'll find the same kind of thing. That friends and enemies is what is taught by education. That's the worldview that we live in. And as we saw in Ghanshyam Prabhu's video presentation, it doesn't really solve any problems. It just makes everything make no sense. And so, again, we're charged with trying to do something about that. And there's another example in Srimad Bhagavatam that helps us to understand that. And that's found in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's described what Krishna and Balaram learned when they went to the Gurukula. I don't know when's your last time you read that, but that's also kind of an eye-opening kind of thing. You think, well, they went to the Gurukula, so they must have been studying their maths, so they must have been studying grammar and all these kind of things. But let me give you some idea of what they studied. The very first thing they learned was how to sing and compose songs. That's the first thing they learned. Now, notice something about all these things compared to the politics of division, friends and enemies that we heard about Prahlad Maharaj's teachers. How does this differ from those? How to sing and compose songs, how to write dramas. They learn the art of making paintings on the floor with liquid paste of rice flour. They learn how to splash water in the rivers while taking bath month springs. They learn how to make various syrups and beverages required at various times. They learn how to draw and read pictographic literature, how to construct residential buildings, how to speak and understand the languages of various countries. I think you get the idea of what, and various animals too, yes, they spoke the language of the animals. So there's a lot of amazing things in there that they learned actually. But what does that list tell you compared to the list of Hiranyakasipu? Maybe the question is not articulated. Spartan? It was fun, right? Yeah.
How to connect with everyone.
Yes, it's how to connect with everyone. They were learning all these things, their communication skills. And what's the objective of friends and enemies? To break down. I don't want to communicate with these people, so I'm going to label them this. That worldview predominates, not a worldview that Christian Balaram learned about how to relate to people, how to interact with people, how to have fun, how to make the best out of a bad bargain in this world. In Alachua recently, the school there, Bhaktivedanta Academy, put on a program where they had the students singing Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajans, probably the same bhajans that Hari Vilas Prabhu was showing there. But they were singing the Bengali, and their teacher went through and how they analyzed it, and they were speaking their realizations. I mean, these are like high school kids, the oldest class, 10th standard. It was such a wonderful program to see that these little Vaishnavas, these wonderful people, that's what the product of that school was. Of course, I can go into their academic standards too if you want me to, but I'm not going to do that. Because this was the predominant thing they featured at the end of their education. They were coming out. It's like a coming out party. I don't know if they have it much anymore. Coming out party. Who are these people that we produced out of our school for so many years? And they were a bunch of wonderful Vaishnavas that were singing so nicely and were able to articulate deep meanings about life. We want a worldview taught in our schools, exemplified by the teachers and administrators of our schools, and Shastric education level people, that inspires that type of behavior, that type of character in the students. That character is the real product of the education we're looking for, and it's revolutionary. It's revolutionary. Srila Prabhupada, I have a quote too. There's a lot of quotes. I can give you a quote too, Prabhupada said. He said that Srimad Bhagavatam, and you probably know this, you can repeat it with me again. He said Srimad Bhagavatam was meant to bring about a revolution in the impious lives of a misdirected civilization. He was a revolutionary. Now, as I said, we have our quaint classrooms and schools and posh educational seminars and family settings. But let's not lose that revolutionary spirit, because we are going to face challenges. When Prabhupada started a Gurukula in Dallas, they had a challenge. They had a challenge. State came and said, wait a minute, you can't do that. And because we weren't prepared, we couldn't stand up and say, well, yes, we can. We can do that. We're going to be challenged. Our kids are going to be challenged. Are they going to be ready? I propose, and I've been working with a group of devotees over the last couple of years on a project called Gita Values. I may have spoken about this last year. Did I? I'm going to speak about it again. Doesn't get boring to me because of what's at stake. These young devotees who are, as Hari Vilas Prabhu was saying, are the next generation. They're important, and repeating things that are meant for their benefit is not important. At least I hope you won't hold it against me. Samadarshana, just a couple quick things. Equal vision and respect. Again, relationships. In all of our relationships, Samadarshana expects inclusion, thoughtfulness, and balance. We have to be inclusive. We can't fight the world, but if we have an inclusive spirit, then they will join us. This Samadarshana or equal vision is based on understanding the spirit soul and not just some legal or philosophical or even moral concept. It's based on truth. We all are spirit soul, and in that degree, we're all equal. Individuality or choice is an eternal principle of the soul. And it means that everyone has the opportunity, the ability to contribute something that's special to them. And we should welcome that individuality because Krishna is ready to accept that. Krishna is ready to accept that. This individuality also gives strength and character and confidence to young children. I've seen, again, at the schools in Alachua, how children that were very shy and retiring, by going through a Krishna conscious education process, they're willing to stand up in front of the whole community of Alachua and give a speech or tell their realizations. To see them grow like that as individual persons, as persons, those persons are not just generic kids, but now, oh, I know that person. I know their qualities, their individuality. It's extremely important for education to deliver the confidence to each individual in that regard. Humility, of course, is described by Krishna as one of the primary characteristics of knowledge. Humility helps us consider and know what is real, who we are, and what the goal of life is. And probably most importantly, without humility, it's very difficult to conduct meaningful relationships with others. Humility is required in that regard. And these are principles that we find in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Finally, priti or affection or compassion. If we are to be successful in educating our children, they must have a strong feeling of compassion in their hearts. Our ability to be compassionate and tolerant are nourished by our ability to share affection. This was Srila Prabhupada's instruction, one of his main instructions about the Gurukula, that the children should feel affection. And probably the biggest failing that we've had in our educational endeavors is that the children didn't always feel affection. So we should make sure that that's part of everything we do. Give the children that affection and then watch them grow. Now again, these Gita values aren't things like rules of grammar or math. but they are the things that will develop the character of the students. And once their character develops, they can do anything. I'll give you an example of some devotees you may know. We all know, do you know Garuda Prabhu? Everyone knows Garuda, right? He's a double PhD from Harvard or whatever. He's my old friend. We were like brahmacharis together, standing in line for a shower. Now he's a big professor. But do you know what his undergraduate major was? Okay. When I met him, whether he was in high school or not, he was into music. He played the cello or something. He wasn't like, a big brainiac math guy or whatever. No. He was a musician. But that didn't prevent him, that didn't hinder him from, when the time is right, to enter academic study and excel to the point where he's got 2 PhDs from Harvard or whatever, and doing a lot of educational programs around the world, including writing the curriculum for Hinduism for all the Avanti schools in England. So that's Garuda. There's one other devotee, a good friend of mine. His name's Guru Guranga. He's a Yale graduate. But do you know what his major was at Yale? He's a lawyer, by the way. He's helping me tremendously in my service in the GBC advising, with very expert legal advice. But his undergraduate major was art history. So again, you find these, and of course, we can go into how education has changed, and back in the day, a liberal education that didn't specify hard sciences or whatever like that was considered to be a good education because it made one a better person. And that's the point I'm trying to make here by pointing these 2 examples out. Because they were good people, they had the opportunity to develop communication skills and understand how to relate with others. And that was valued and felt to be important. Then, when the time came, they can do anything. They can do anything. So that kind of approach has to be there. At least I'm suggesting it. It may be a little revolutionary. I don't think so, because I think that's ultimately what Prabhupada wanted. And that's what we get from the quotes. But don't let it slip off the agenda when we're planning, daily planning. Keep it on the agenda. Be revolutionary in this way. And that's my request to all of you. And I hope that the next couple of days we can find a lot of ways to cooperate and take the best from each other in this. We can learn something and take it back and improve our individual efforts. If I have a couple of minutes, I have plenty? Okay. I don't want to just stand up here and talk to you. I've already done it. So, but I do want to hear from you. What kind of worldview ideas do you have? I mean, Harvey Loss gave us some tremendously valuable views of what they're doing here. And if you go out there and look at some of the posters they have around here, I think it's just fabulous the way he advertises and entices people to come in and get these education programs. But well, maybe some of you have a view of what the world should look like or how it can look if we have these kind of people that I've described walking the earth. What would it do to the world? How would it improve the world? Anybody want to share reflections, Marge?
One thing, we've been developing programs with the National Museum in India in Calcutta, Justice of the Supreme Courts, Governors of West Bengal, a lot of nice programs. And one thing that keeps coming back again and again from those programs is our whole education, our whole development aims at a situation in the world which is based on the village. You don't have to be a big superstar. You organize a puppet show in your village, and that's nice enough. And everybody lives locally. And a few people traveling around. Prabhupada said televisions. What do we need these things for? Okay, you need them. Make 2, 3 dozen. That was Prabhupada's idea of how many televisions are necessary in the world. 25. And everybody lives in a village and knows each other. And then the education is for having a nice life in the village. And okay, you know, some connection with the outer world. That's what I would say is, again, is that I just want to, you know, a few friends and live in my village and be connected beyond that.
The scale, huh? The
Yeah.
scale doesn't have to be mammoth. And I think that's good for us because none of us really are coming from mammoth anyway, right? But if we can feel satisfied and fulfilled
Yeah.
on that scale that we're making a contribution, and I think we are, as Mark was saying, then great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Great. Welcome to my village.
Anybody else have some things?
My realization is that I think everyone can do something to help those around them to shift their paradigm in some way to realize how much they are actually out of alignment with their real values. And by alignment with your values, then the world becomes a very wonderful place. And I think it's very important. As this, I forgot his name, but the video. It was a very creative way to allow you to see in a different paradigm. Because if your paradigm changes, then your behavior changes very quickly. And I think that's a very revolutionary part of education, to get people to change their paradigm as quickly as possible.
Great.
As much compassion as possible.
And that can be done person by person, that's what I hear you saying. Wow, that's powerful, person by person. If we can make a difference, I think there's some quote by some educator, if I can make a difference in one child's life, then I'll consider myself successful. Consider what that does when you're thinking like there in Hushimosu, you're thinking, oh, my student count is this, and I got to raise it or something like that. But no, you're appreciated for even 1 or 2 kids in there. You're appreciated for what you're doing, and that's invaluable in the life of a child. You should keep that in mind. Anybody else? Somebody else? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. Oh, Harvey Hospital.
Thank you. Thank you for edifying examples that you gave from Shastra. It's very nice. Srila Prabhupada described Krishna consciousness as a cultural movement, as opposed, and he said that we can influence the whole world with Krishna culture. So to understand what the word culture means is extremely important. Culture means the way you do things, the way you eat, the way you sleep, what direction you put your head when you sleep. Should it be north, south, east, or west? I remember when Prabhupada first came to our small temple in Paris, when he saw his bed, he said, he looked at me and said, "Which way is east?" And we pointed, it's this way, Prabhupada. I said, "Okay, turn the bed around." So that's culture, how you do things. And that's what we learned when we first joined Krishna consciousness. How you eat, how you talk, what time you wake up, what time you go to sleep. It was an entire lifestyle accommodation or orientation. And there's a difference also between a cultural presentation of Krishna consciousness and a religious presentation. And that should be understood if we want to be successful in presenting Krishna consciousness. Culture, Prabhupada said, means education. It's educational. Religion is a type of faith And if you go to a person and they say, you should follow Lord Chaitanya, otherwise you're a demon. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, they'll say, well, thank you very much, now I understand your religion, and goodbye. But if you say, oh, Lord Chaitanya, he was a 15th century compassionate and dynamic person who practiced apolitical nonviolence, as opposed to Gandhi and Martin Luther King, who practiced political nonviolence. Therefore, he was not assassinated, but the other two were. So, all of a sudden, well, that's very interesting. I'd like to find out more about him. I like compassion, and I like a revolution that's bloodless. And what is apolitical nonviolence? So all of a sudden, it becomes educational rather than dogmatic or a type of faith. Religion is described as a type of faith, but everyone can put their faith in all kinds of different things. I might believe they're yellow midgets on the moon, and you believe they're red, and we can't convince each other which way. But when we start talking about, Lord Chaitanya and how he was dancing the forest of Jharikanda, the animals were also dancing in ecstasy, and chanting with him. Well, that piques the interest of the person. They say, well, I'd like to find out more about that. So the cultural presentation of Krishna consciousness is the key to piercing the impenetrable wall of atheism in this world. And we should talk about that more.
Thank you very much. Yes. Very good. Culture. Anyone else have anything?
Actually, when Prabhuji said about the point of culture, I just remembered an episode from one of the Srila Prabhupada's pastimes that happened in Durban. Srila Prabhupada had been to Durban once. I think only once he had been there. So the neighbor to the ISKCON temple had been really a troublemaker, or they didn't have a good relationship with ISKCON, so they had regular misunderstandings. So Prabhupada's arrival was already announced, and the temple devotees were really fearing. Should we go and tell that lady that next 3 days, please don't, please keep quiet and let our Acharya come and go. And then they thought, if we go and tell her, that might instigate her more to come and, pick up a fight. So they just kept quiet, and they never briefed Prabhupada nor, let the lady know about it. So Prabhupada came the day morning and went for a morning walk. So ISKCON temple and that lady's house, they share the same compound. So Prabhupada was stopping over and just looked over at the lady. He didn't say Hare Krishna, he didn't preach, he didn't say anything. He just appreciated you're maintaining a very nice garden, and you're doing something very nice. And he just went for the morning walk. And second day also, Prabhupada stayed there for 3 days. So second day also Prabhupada stayed there, and when he went for the morning walk, he just briefly waved and spoke to the lady. And third day also did the same thing. And fourth day Prabhupada left, and that lady visited ISKCON temple and asked, there was an old man in your temple, who is he and where is he? So these all devotees thought that, she's going to pick up a fight again. And they said that he's our founder Acharya, and he left for another next location. She said that he's the only good guy in your entire movement. Actually, every time when I narrate this, and many times I've spoken in this in classes, that actually to preach, even you don't need to state Krishna, your behavior, your conduct, and how you communicate, you can win more souls to Krishna consciousness. So I think education is beyond speaking about Krishna. I think it's about, when Prabhuji said about culture, I just remember this pastime.
Yes, oh good.
I have a couple.
Hare Krishna, Shesha Prabhu. Thank you so much for your talk. You always revolutionize everyone who's listening. You were talking about connecting, and you tied in the difference between the Kali Yuga attitude of Shanda and Amarika, and then you contrasted it with Krishna and Balaram's education. So it just a little bit made me feel like in this group meeting that we're having this year and that we've had every year, if there's a way that we can connect many more parents and educators to what you're speaking, to what Hanumat Abhishek Swami is speaking, to what Hari Vilas Prabhu, it just, sitting here listening to it makes me think of all of the teachers and all of the educators that are in North America today that need to hear this, that would love to hear this. So if there's a way that we can make some kind of a initiative for next year where the senior devotees such as yourself, Hari Vilas Prabhu, because you know what Prabhupada's vision was, and it's becoming watered down. And if we can figure out a way to do that, that would be wonderful.
Believe it or not, there are some plans in the works for that. So. And they're videotaping it. Revolution. It'll be a revolution if we can actually do it. But thank you. Thank you for reminding us that we have to do that. I don't know if that's recording or just broadcasting, but if it's recording, now you can record stuff and put it on the internet and it can go around. So
It's recording,
it's
recording and broadcast.
Okay, well, keep it going. Good. So, any more contributions right now?
Officially, you have 5 more minutes.
Officially, 5 more minutes.
Probably.
Well, if I have officially 5 more minutes, and I take him against the 3 hours time difference as I traveled this morning, then do I get to forego those 5 minutes?
I must want to say something more.
Your example in Durban brings up another interesting point. The Berkeley Temple had a really contentious and even vitriolic curmudgeon who lived across the street from the temple, and he organized the entire neighborhood against the temple. And he was very effective. He was a PhD engineer that worked for the city of Berkeley, so he knew exactly who to talk to. And he was always giving us trouble. You know. However, one day his truck was parked on our side of the street, right in front of the temple. And when I was chanting my rounds early in the morning, around 5 o'clock, I saw that gasoline was leaking from his gas tank. So I went over 5 o'clock in the morning, I knocked on his door, and he came with his pajamas on, you know, and he opened the curtain of his front door, and he started yelling at me. He said, well, you know, what do you want? Why are you bothering me? You know, he was like screaming, you know. I said, there's something wrong. So he opened the door and said, what do you want? And I said, your truck is leaking gas. I said, what? So he walked out barefoot in his pajamas across the street, and he saw that his truck was leaking gasoline, and I had put some sawdust there to sort of capture the gasoline. He said, did you do that? I said, yeah. Is there something wrong? I said, no, I'm very happy you did that. So 1 week later, he came to the temple. He never, you know, would come in the temple and knock on the door and asked to see me. And he said, you know, you guys are actually a good neighbor. And I was like shocked. I couldn't believe it. He said that. He said, I really appreciate you telling me about my truck leaking gasoline. He said, you know, I'm going to be 50 years old in 1 month. And could I celebrate my 50th anniversary in the temple? I couldn't believe it. I said, sure. You know, I'd be very happy. So he invited the whole neighborhood, all the residents that were against us. And we set up a table like this. We served him prashad. We paid for everything ourselves. That was our gift to him. We gave him some gifts also. Then he stood up and he gave a speech. And and he said, "You know that I am the leader of the neighborhood group against these people." He said, "But my opinion has changed." And he began glorifying the temple. And from that day on, he was our friend, and he supported us. Now, a year later, he had a stroke. He became almost completely paralyzed. Every day we took him prashad. Every day we were talking to him. We sent some of the ladies over and they would do some housework for him. So it completely changed. And the neighborhood calmed down many bodies.
If you have that kind of persons,
Yeah.
those kind of people walking in the world, then you have a revolution. It's not necessarily by guns and fighting, but the quality of the people will cause a revolution. Very good examples. Thank you. Obviously, it's something he's personally invested with. He's been some emotion while telling us about it. So thank you. Appreciate that very much. Okay, brother, I think we should get on with the program. Look forward to the weekend. Hare Krishna.
That was wonderful, Sesh Prabhu. Had a fantastic keynote address. To get on with the program, we have a team introduction. I think some of us are new to this forum. Some of us are, we know each other for the past 3 conferences. So just to help all those who are new, we will have a quick team introduction. I think everybody should self-introduce themselves. And there's no format, you can go ahead and introduce the way you want to know. You want us to know about you. And once we finish the introduction, I have a few housekeeping agenda, then we can end our session and proceed for supper. I think we'll start with Partha Prabhu. And
Hare Krishna, my name is Partha, and this is my good wife, Uttama Dasi. We're members of the used to be North American Greenhouse Division team, but we've ended up traveling all over the world, so we just call ourselves now the Greenhouse Division team. And we've worked for the last about 11 years developing programs to offer support and encouragement to devotees who are married and devotees looking to become married.
One of the key things that my husband and I work on is we try to see that every couple in ISKCON, before they get married, get some education on what might be helpful skills and attitudes before they switch ashrams, so that they can be successful, and so that the children will come out better, and therefore the world will come out better.
Hare Krishna. My name is Indira Sakhi Devi Dasi. By Krishna's mercy, we are residing in Sridham, Mayapur. We are very happy to be here. So it's something that Harivilas Prabhu said, if we fail to educate our children, we fail. So that resonates with me a lot. I'm primarily involved in Shastric education for children. Been holding a lot of programs in our congregation in Kuwait. That's where we were earlier before we moved to Mayapur. And that has been continuing in Mayapur. In terms of material education, I have a master's degree in computer science, but I'm happy that I also have Bhakti Vaibhav from Mayapur Institute now. So that's been very nice, studying Srila Prabhupada's books in detail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I'm your servant Tapan Mishra Das. I reside with my wife and 2 daughters, Krishangi and Gaurang in Sridham, Mayapur. And in terms of studies, I did get some qualifications in the secular world, but in terms of education, it's a process that I'm beginning. And thanks to Srila Prabhupada's movement, it's an ongoing process. In terms of my affiliation of education within ISKCON, I'm associated with also Mayapur Institute in teaching Bhakti Vaibhava there, also with GPC College for Leadership and some aspects of team building. And previously I served on the board of the schools in Sultanate of Oman, where we had close to 19 schools. It was a board of 14 members, and we were overseeing about 40,000 students and about 4,000 staff. So that's what I was doing before I took retirement and moved to Mayapur. But that was just my voluntary work, not my professional life. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, my name is Nitai Pran, and I'm 12 years old and I'm turning 13 tomorrow. I'm currently going into 9th grade at TKG Academy in Dallas, Texas.
Hare Krishna, my name is Gopikita Devidasi, and this is my son. And we're very, very fortunate and honored to be at Srila Prabhupada's first school in Dallas, Texas. And I am also lucky to be serving as the vice principal there, as well as a full-time teacher and spiritual curriculum coordinator. We also attended Gurukul from childhood all the way to high school and then went into university. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, my name is Nritya Kishori Dasi, and I'm the principal of TKG Academy in Dallas.
Hare Krishna, I'm Vijay Raman. I'm currently the Executive Director at Synergy Learning Academy. Very fortunate to have two of our teachers here who are amazing people. They set on in our quest or work towards this process of building the school, and got educated in the Montessori education, and they are very dedicated, and I'm very excited to have them here. And thank you very much to get all your association last time. That really got me excited, and I'm thankful to Harivilas Prabhu for continually guiding us in building our school. Here, right here. And I look forward to hearing more and getting more guidance from you all. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, I'm Radhika Nam Devidasi. Like Vijay mentioned, me and the Mood Devi both took Montessori teacher training. And we are currently working in the primary classroom at Synergy Learning Academy.
Hare Krishna, my name is Mohini Sundari Devidasi, and I'm working as a primary teacher in Synergy School.
Hare Krishna, I'm Ananda Vrindavan Devidasi from ISKCON Silicon Valley, California. And my journey to education started with homeschooling my kids by the inspiration of Varudha Mataji and Anand Prabhu. And earlier I was into computers world. So that's how it started, and then I took other kids. We do Sunday school program, not just in the temple, but outside in different cities in the area, because it's a very scattered area. And also we have started recently started a school, preschool for 2 to 5 year old kids. That's named as Navadvip Preschool. So Maharaj visited that recently, and he said that we should have 9 schools in Bay. And I'm very happy to be here and attending this conference from last all the years, and it's really inspiring to be with all of you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, my name is Subra Devidasi. I am representing Houston, Texas. We actually are a baby school. We just completed our 3rd year, and I teach, and I'm the principal there as well. Prior to that, I was in public school education for 18 years. I was a teacher, a vice principal, and principal. And I can tell you that I do believe in the statement of ongoing learning, because I'm learning so much teaching at Goswami Academy. Our school has students from 3-year-old all the way. This coming school year will be adding 6th grade, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, ISKCON Seattle, for hosting this year, and I'm looking forward to this coming few days to learn from you all and get all the inspiration and encouragement as well.
Hare Krishna. My name is Hari Leela Das. I'm from Houston, Texas. We are conducting Bhakti Shastri classes and also simultaneously are doing Bhakti Yoga program, following the guideline of Hanuman Prasak Swami Maharaj with his mercy. Also, I teach Sanskrit in Goswami Academy and some other various programs in the city and around the city, home programs. We conduct a Bhagavad Gita class and Srimad Bhagavatam classes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Also, Harila is a structural engineer, and his company was responsible maybe like 70% of all the high-rise buildings in Houston. So he can put up 60-story tall buildings that don't fall down. So that we can, I've seen it actually, it goes right into Krishna consciousness in terms of organization. So I'm Hanumat Preshak Swami, which is a name for Ramachandra, which means he sent Hanuman. I joined in '74 in San Francisco. I eventually got involved with the Ministry of Education, been working with Sesha, boom. And especially in the area of building a global system, trying to work together, Ramgiridhari, especially in Shastric education. And we have developing Bhakti Baba programs, curricula, and trying to integrate with world programs. So very happy to see, I was trying to get a hold of Radhika Nagar, but now I don't have to. Okay, thank you, God. In terms of our own Sankirtan efforts, I graduated in psychology from the University of California, first place, with minor studies in biology and electrical engineering, met devotees, and eventually now we've developed, I was with the Bhaktivedanta Institute with Sudhamana Maharaj for many years. So now we're working in the developing programs in South America with libraries, museums, government of India, and especially focusing in Carl Jung, Jungian psychology, Jungian community. It's a very active community, and we're reaching Nobel laureates and people like that and so on. So we're very enthusiastic next few days to have a lot of exchange. And I'll say it right now, two things that we would like to get out of this are regional representatives who can then be a link between regional educational initiatives and the Ministry of Education, maybe 3 regions in the US, people like that, and a periodical, a journal. Cost you $40 a year, you get 4 issues. We pay people to write good articles, and from that we can start connecting up with databases and that kind of stuff. So we get a periodical going with South America here, and they get representatives.
Hare Krishna. My name is Anantrup Das. I'm the least educated person here. My only qualification is that I'm father of Radhika Raman and Gopali, that you know. Maharaj forced me to come here, and I'm glad I'm here so I can learn something. I reside in Boise, and I'm holding the fort there as the president. Thank you.
And by the way, he also has 2 master's degrees.
I'm Ramgiridhari Das. I have a service as an executive secretary in the Ministry of Education, and I have my own software company as well as an educational consulting firm. And I'm very happy to be with you all, and going to have 2 exciting days ahead. Thank you so much for being part of this. It's always exciting to have some conversation and dialogue on education. Looking forward for that. I live in Mumbai. Yeah. We have some devotees participating online. I think Vishwambar Prabhu is online. Thank you, Vishwambar Prabhu, for being online. I think he couldn't make it. He was supposed to come, but then last minute he had some personal emergency. And there are other devotees from South America who may also join us online for the next 2 days for all the sessions. So the technology is set up very nicely that people from other places can watch us, as also some presentations are going to be made online for the next 2 days in the schedule. Yeah, Naveen is also making, yeah. Naveen is, I mean, he's not right now online, but right now Vishwambar Prabhu is online, so I just thought I'll welcome him. Okay, so we are on time. I have a few housekeeping agendas as well as some points to share. As Maharaj pointed out, as an outcome, he's expecting at least a periodical to be finalized, as well as identify regional representatives to represent North America. We were discussing about 3 zones and how they can collaborate and help push this education forward. I was just reflecting on what should be the aim of this conference, and maybe all of you have your own perspectives and your own thoughts on that. So I just penned down my thoughts just to give my perspective to it, and also I'll go ahead and share some housekeeping points. So my thoughts of this conference are to promote the benefits of education in the development of Krishna conscious communities, most especially in supporting ISKCON's second generation. So if I see the cross section of members here, somebody from Varnashrama education, somebody from formal education, Shastric education, so we have a very good representation from all walks of education. So it'll be pretty nice to collaborate and discuss amongst ourselves. And the second point, I was thinking that to solidify the Sangha of ISKCON devotees and supporters actively involved in pushing forward this formal education. So it's a pretty good Sangha. We are doing this for the 4th time, and I'm sure those of you who attended the last 3 years would appreciate that it's definitely an endeavor to put this conference together, and even to come under one roof to have such a dialogue is pretty fruitful. Maybe we should do much more than just coming together, but I think coming together and having a dialogue is an achievement by itself. So I would make sure that we take best advantage of this gathering. And also I was thinking that we can start identifying how we can collaborate between projects, because we have different projects, devotees from different parts of North America. So we can kind of collaborate between those projects. And last conference we made a point that somehow or other we will make education as a priority in all the yatra. So I mean, we are still getting there, but I thought I would reiterate saying that somehow or other we need to push and see to that this education. I mean, if somehow ISKCON is an education movement, so saying education as a separate agenda looks like I'm trying to propose something new. But what I meant is that all the educational initiatives that could be consolidated and nicely collaborated, and we want to somehow put education as a focus and to help the next generation to take them forward. And last but not least, what Maharaj said is also what I was aspiring to set up a platform where we all can have an ongoing communication. So we thought a journal or a periodical or a magazine, whatever you may call, newsletter. So we want to have something formally from the Ministry of Education, so that we are all well informed time to time, and we also have a platform to communicate what all projects that we are doing. If some of you may have other aims and goals or aspirations that you would like to get out of this conference, maybe definitely you can share it, or as we move along, you can present your views to make the most of it. Few housekeeping agendas. Number one is that you must have given a handout with some printouts. It's just for those of you who are new to this conference, we just wanted to let you know what is the vision of Ministry of Education, what is the mission of Ministry of Education, what are our objectives, which we have presented at the previous conference, in the last 2 conferences. I didn't want to bore those who are coming again to go over the same thing again, but at least to bring everybody up to speed on what Ministry of Education is up to. And this is something I just thought as I can have a background reading on that. And we have a plan to visit the farm. There's a farm community that is being managed by ISKCON of Seattle. So tomorrow evening, after the evening session, 6:30, there's an arrangement to take all of us to the farm community and bring us back. So this is let you know that tomorrow officially the program gets over at 6:30, but then there is a farm visit, and the vehicle have been arranged. So if some of you are not intending to come because of personal agenda, maybe you have the commitments, let us know, because accordingly the vehicle can be, because some of the congregation devotees are going to take us out there, multiple vehicles have been arranged, so accordingly they can plan. And actually we also are desiring to visit Synergy Learning Academy. So we have a situation where we need to take a decision now on when and how to go. So there are different views about it, because our break time is between 12:30 and 3 o'clock tomorrow, as well as day after tomorrow we have the same amount of break. But tomorrow is an official working day for the school, and the school closes at 3 o'clock, and our session also has to start at 3 o'clock. So originally we were planning that maybe we can do the afternoon session in the school, but then to shift all the technology and setting it up there for half a day, we thought it would be a big challenge. So we have an option to go to Synergy Learning Academy anytime between 1 and 3. Okay, the school is 20 minutes away from this place. So if some of you wish to forego your afternoon nap or a kind of a lunch break, whatever relaxing time, please, I think we are making it kind of an optional because we do not want to stress the afternoon session by not letting you all take the rest. But if you still wish to make it, please let us know so that accordingly vehicle can be arranged. So between 12:30 and 3, we will have half an hour lunch, and the remaining 2 hours is maybe if we are really organized, then we can go in 20 minutes, visit the school in 20 minutes, come back in 20 minutes, maybe in an hour. You may still have an hour for you to take a break. But it's very, very important to come back on time to make sure the rest of the program doesn't fall apart. So if whoever, yes?
You're suggesting both field trips tomorrow?
Yes, because Saturday evening we have a public program where the congregation, because actually speaking, when we announced about the conference, a lot of devotees from the community wish to attend the program here, but then we didn't. We were not sure how many could be accommodated and how this will go, because this is more of a private, not a private, but I think it's a very close room discussion. So what we had done is that so Saturday evening we are trying to kind of arranging a session to address the larger devotee community in Seattle. So all the educators will be, all or a few of us would be addressing them. So that takes off Saturday evening. So then Saturday afternoon is too difficult to go to the farm and come. And Saturday school is also off, so that puts everything on Friday's agenda. Yes, Ron?
The farm is only 15 minutes from here. It's not far.
So we can even do it on Saturday?
You could do it on Saturday.
However, the problem is that the Saturday evening program is at 7:30. We are finishing at 6:30, so it will be too much to put a stress. I'm sorry?
Doing the lunch on Saturday evening.
Yeah, that's also fine. Lunch on Saturday evening. I just thought at least both the lunch breaks are taken away. Is that okay if Saturday lunch time we all go to the farm? Because we need to, the reason we need to schedule it now is to help the organizers to arrange the vehicle or transportation.
6:30 is too late to move from farm because night is going down. Not like yesterday was good, but today is.
How about tomorrow? What's the forecast on Saturday?
Tomorrow is rain. Saturday is good.
Saturday is good.
But tomorrow is rain.
So shall we go out on Saturday afternoon, like how we do tomorrow for the school?
Yeah.
We can do that. Okay, fine. So then let's do a farm visit on Saturday afternoon and school visit tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
But I think we need to really be on our time to come back to keep up the schedule. So
We have to go to the Synergy School, 4 hours away, and not go to Synergy School.
I'm sorry?
You can't come all this way and not go to Synergy.
Yeah, sure. For sure. And so lunch, breakfast, dinner, all three are arranged here. So the morning program starts at 5:30 in Mangalarati, it's there the schedule, and 7:15 we have Srila Prabhupada's Guru Puja. 7:30 to 8:30 is morning Bhagavatam class, 8:30 we have darshan, and 8:45 breakfast is arranged over here for all the delegates. So, and if anyone needs any specific things to be facilitated for your own presentation, like a printout or a handout or a presentation, please hand it over to us so that if something has to be pre-arranged, we can keep them ready. And if anybody's return journeys details are changed, I know a couple of them they have changed their schedule. So because the return journey pickup, the drops are only planned as per the spreadsheet that you all are filled in. So if any one of you is changed, please let us know so that we can inform again the organizers to make the necessary arrangement to drop you all back in the airport. For the online, whoever is going to do the online presentation, I think Maharaj, we might need to do start meeting because this won't let them present. Yeah, so we need to have an online start meeting, and he's not going to blend it on YouTube but he can broadcast between both places. So those of you who are going to be doing online presentation, please liaise with us ahead of time so that we can kind of sync up and see if everything is working at your end and our end. This is mainly for Vishwambar Prabhu. He's hearing us, so I just wanted to let him know. Anything else?
Can we get the YouTube link so that we can follow?
Yeah, YouTube link is youtube.com/Vedic Cultural Center. I've already sent the mail outs to the devotees, but I didn't send the URL because at the time I didn't know the URL.
Vedic Cultural Center.
And on Sunday, which is kind of an open day, there are a lot of educators here who expressed interest to attend the session, and I've told the devotees here, if they wish to meet some of us, somebody wants to meet the homeschooling people, somebody wants to meet the Shastric education team, if somebody wants to meet some of us who are, so please be available, and you can give your time to the local devotees and hear from them as well as understand from them what they are doing. It will be very helpful for them and also helpful for your respective project and definitely for the Ministry of Education. Anything else? Any other questions or yes, Prabhu?
What time do we start for the conference tomorrow morning?
Yeah, so officially we start at 9:30 according to the schedule. But then we encourage, since all of you are apart from Maharaj, all of us are being given accommodation pretty close to the temple. I mean, I presume it's all 5 minutes walking or 2 minutes walking. So it will be very nice if you all can, come for the morning program. If not for Mangalarati, at least for Darshanarati and, the class. I mean, we wish that, that's the reason we mentioned the morning program starts officially at 5:30. So for this conference over here, we meet at 9:30. So both the days we are going to have morning session here, 9:30 to 12:30. And afternoon we are going to have breakout sessions. We have other rooms where individual groups can have their own breakout session, which we will brief about it tomorrow. Yes. We have not made a schedule because everybody came in just this evening, so we have not spoken. So we have not scheduled who's going to give Bhagavatam. Harivilas Prabhu, have any schedule? Whom should she's asking about the Bhagavatam class schedule. Who's going to speak? So is there any schedule that you all already have that can be shared, or is it just open?
You can decide.
Sheshu, you can give Bhagavatam class in the morning. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do yeah, tomorrow. Yeah. So
Sunday Maharaj can.
Sunday Maharaj cannot give because he has to. His flight is at 10 o'clock, right?
Yes. Saturday you can give. Sunday is Saturday.
Yeah. So Saturday morning, Raj.
What I'm trying to get is by Sheshika online. Okay, Hare Krishna, I can do it or else somebody else can do it.
Okay, so tomorrow morning, Bhagavatam class by Sesha Prabhu. I was just trying to organize it ahead of time, but then for various reasons we couldn't nail this down. So Sesha Prabhu, thank you for putting on the spot. Anything else? Any questions? Well, yes.
Dinner is ready in the room, Keshav room.
Keshav room. Dinner is ready in Keshav classroom, so everybody can help yourselves. Thank you so much, and it's once again a pleasure to be with you all. Looking forward for the next 2 days. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.